In the last video I talked about 3 different interpretations for the song Locomotive Breath. Mine, in which I talk about the objective explicit situation, which I call material because it's a more physical thing, it's the objective thing that happens in the material plane without any subjectivities. The Catholic one that has to do with Genesis and the Christian terms used in the song. And the third one, which is about social critics, the interpretation that the author attributes to the song in a more recent interview, where he says that it's about population growth and limited natural resources being abused by the human being. So my interpretation was totally different from what the author intended. But when we read the lyrics of a song or when we read poetry, we have our own interpretation, and it cannot be judged as wrong. If the conclusion makes sense for us, then maybe we should keep using that interpretation. But it doesn't mean that there isn't anything beyond what we thought or in another direction than the one we went through. And sometimes the lyrics or the poetry demands a lot more thought from us, demands a deeper reflection. And even after digging deeper and finding a new meaning to the song, we don't need to abandon our previous interpretation. And I believe that a work like the lyrics of the song always has a double meaning, which is the material situation, the literal situation, the one that's right in front of us, and the metaphorical one. They can even be in opposite directions, but they complement each other. Like in the comic book Snowpiercer, where the train is a metaphor for society, and it also never stops, and there is an objective situation happening in there with the characters and everything, and there's the meaning behind it. And it's natural not to reach the conclusion that the author wanted you to reach, because most of those works, they demand a previous knowledge. In the case of this song, it demanded a knowledge about Christianity, and that we see beyond the material situation, the Catholic terms that guide us through a deeper level of interpretation, and see a third layer of interpretation in which we have a metaphor for society. Songs, books, movies, series, even newspaper articles or social network posts, they demand a previous knowledge. A book might demand knowledge about a specific religion, another one about Nordic mythology. A series can demand knowledge about previous series or classic fantasy books or something. An article can presume that you know some political terms or a specific social context or a recent regional happening. A simple post can demand knowledge about the meaning of some gestures or specific slang, and the fact that they are considered cool in a specific social niche. A music post might demand a knowledge about the current scenery of that genre. A food post might demand knowledge about basic nutrition facts, and so on. The problem is, nowadays we have things digested to us more often. And there are lots of posts, lots of articles, lots of movies, lots of series that choose to remain on the surface, explaining things to us. And the entertainment industry knows that they can't presume us to know everything about everything. But this is a more subjective matter. You can argue both ways, that things are getting each time more subniched or each time more digested, more dumbed down. The time span of the things we consume is getting each time smaller, you know. Some years ago we would consume videos from YouTube that would last, I don't know, from 5 minutes to an hour. Now people consume mostly videos from Instagram that are like from 7 seconds to 1 minute, you know. So we have this movement of things being each time more dumbed down, more simple, more minimalistic, or whatever you want to call it. And in the other hand, things getting more sub-niched, made to get the attention of a specific audience. This is a matter that requires more attention to it and more focus, so I'm just commenting about it. Let's get back to the point. So my advice is that you have your own interpretation. And I can't help the feeling that we need to restore this act of thinking about everything and reaching deeper conclusions. Nowadays I see a lot of people delegating their opinion to influencers or actors, actresses, some famous figure that they identify with, and let them tell them how to think, how to behave, what to buy, what to do, which hobbies to choose from. They want to have the same diet as a famous actor. They want to have the same car, the same routine, the same life. But everybody's different, and the body, the mind, and the soul of each person demands a different thing, has a different perfect routine. Even if we're talking about success and productivity, this is a matter that is at least a little bit different from one person to the other. There's no problem with agreeing with someone that seems to be sort of like you or seems to be a good role model for you. The problem is treating that person like they're perfect and doing things and believing in things just because that person does or believes or says that believes. So with that in mind, I'd like to ask you, today, how often do we give birth to our own opinions?